Welcome back to American History 101. Today we'll be discussing the growth and forming of political parties. So I'm not sure if you know this, but there's an election coming up and political parties play a pretty big role in it. So obviously they're still relevant today. But we'll get back to that. So first of all, there are a few people you need to know who are quite influential in forming the two parties. First is the charming and brilliant immigrant from the Caribbean, Alexander Hamilton.
Alexander Hamilton!
In the Revolutionary War, he served as George Washington's primary aide, and eventually led a battalion of his own in the triumphant Battle of Yorktown. He then played a large role in creating the Constitution and getting it ratified. Then he became America's first Treasury Secretary. I could say more, but that would take a really long time, because he did a lot of stuff. No, seriously. Like, enough that it would take an 818-page biography to tell, or just a brilliant musical. But anyways, he had some very ambitious ideas on how he thought America should be run. He believed that America needed a stronger national government, and he envisioned America as an economic superpower that was active in manufacturing and trade. As he was in George Washington's cabinet, as Treasury Secretary during his presidency, he played a huge role in Washington's administration. Washington agreed with and supported many of Hamilton's ideas. They both thought that a stronger national government was needed, as well as a national bank to regulate a common currency and pay off the nation's debt from the Revolutionary War. However, there was someone else in the cabinet that was opposed to the idea of a stronger national government. Secretary of State, Thomas Jefferson. You may know him as the author of the most important document in American history, the Declaration of Independence, or America's third president. Jefferson was all about states' rights and a limited central government. His vision of America was an agrarian utopia made up of self-sufficient farmers, not all these banks and trade that Hamilton was so big on. He was opposed to a strong national government and did not like Hamilton's debt plan or Hamilton himself. Jefferson, a Virginian, as well as other Southerners, thought the debt plan was unfair and favored the North. This is because Virginia and many other Southern states had paid off all their debt. It would be unfair if the government just paid off the North's debt for them. Also, Jefferson was a firm believer in following the Constitution word for word. The assuming national debt or the power to have a national bank, not in the Constitution, which makes it, as his believed, unconstitutional. Now, my boy Alex disagreed and said that the power to have a national bank is an implied power referenced in the elastic clause of the Constitution, which said that the government could do anything necessary and proper to carry out their delegated powers written in the Constitution. Not only did these opposing ideas split up the cabinet, they also split up the country. Those who sided with Hamilton and wanted a stronger central government with a national bank united and formed the Federalist Party. Those who agreed with Jefferson and who wanted the states to have more power and were opposed to the debt plan joined together to form the Democratic Republican Party. So, in short, the disagreements between Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson within Washington's cabinet caused the forming of two political parties, a system that is still prevalent and a large part of modern-day democracy, which is actually kind of ironic because George Washington was the only president who didn't belong to a political party, and he actually warned America about the dangers of political parties.
I warn against partisan fighting.
So, what happened with the debt plan? Well, in order to get his debt plan through, Hamilton had to prove that he wasn't favoring the North and that he cared for the South just as much. So America did what America has been doing since the Constitutional Convention: compromise. Jefferson and the Democratic Republicans agreed to support the debt plan under the promise that the capital be moved to the South, more specifically on the border between Maryland and Virginia, which is known today as the District of Columbia, or Washington, D.C. Mind blown. The effects of this compromise are that Washington, D.C. went from a small farming town to the capital of the United States of America. Also, Hamilton is granted unprecedented financial power with a bank system that he can use to shape the economic future of the country. And we still use this system today. However, some things never change. New York still had the banks, and Hamilton and Jefferson still disliked each other and each other's ideals. Also, a truth that remains true today is that people will always have different ideas on how they think America should be. This compromise and the growth of political parties was a huge turning point in American history. The parties caused the need for changes to be made to the Electoral College. Hamilton's National Bank steered America away from a nation of farming and no international trade to the economic superpower that it is today. Hamilton and Jefferson hated each other and each other's beliefs. They demonized each other and each other's parties. They agreed on virtually nothing. However, they were able to compromise on at least this one occasion in the end and move the country forward. Maybe if Jefferson and Hamilton had compromised even more instead of their constant bickering and personal attacks, even more could have been accomplished. This is something that current politicians could keep in mind: the necessity of compromise for the greater good of the country. Political parties remain a huge part of America's government today. Remember that election I mentioned earlier? On Tuesday, Americans will choose between two main candidates of different parties to be the next president. Both candidates were nominated by their political parties. For example, the Democratic Party nominated Hillary Clinton because they thought she would best represent their ideas. Now, just to be clear, the parties are different from the ones in the 1800s because beliefs change. They changed from the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans to eventually evolving to the Democrats and Republicans. In conclusion, I think the growth and forming of political parties in the antebellum era should be celebrated because political parties are a great way for people with similar ideas to join together and try to get their plans implemented. Unions and compromises are strong. If we work together, we can keep America the great country it has always been.
Oui, mon ami, I'm Tommy J. I just came back from France and I got something to say. Alex seems smart, but his ideas are dumb. I say we send him back to where he came from. This debt plan is outrageous and it's unfair to the South. It's not in the Constitution, so please just close your mouth. Hamilton's plan will make him rich, he'll rule the nation, whereas I'm for the people's right. Just read my declaration. I'm a man of the people and Secretary of State. I think we already know who won this debate. Thank you, Secretary Jefferson. Secretary Hamilton, you have the floor, sir. You said all men are created equal in your declaration, but tell me, do slaves have a place in your nation? Great, may I ask you, because I got your attention, have you read the Constitution because you were at the convention? So don't tell me that my plan is against the Constitution. It's an implied power. Does that solve your confusion? You say I'm a monarchist and you're a common man while you sit in Monticello and go to France when you can. You're an aristocratic Francophile that got popular on luck. You're only worth 5 cents. I'm a full $10.